in the Department of Geography. I come from the discipline of geography. I'm not sure how many of you are from geography, but I would be giving you the perspective, the spatial perspective, geographical perspective of environment, and I intend to speak on contemporary environmental issues and challenges. We all are aware that in modern day there are many environmental issues which are in some way have great bearing, have great influence on our life over the earth surface. So first I will share my PPT and then I'll start my presentation. Okay, just a moment, give me a moment. So I think now my slide would be appearing, I suppose. So this is what the title of my presentation. As I am saying that I would be speaking on the modern day environmental challenges and issues. And as I have said that I am a student of geography, so I would be giving the geographical perspective. So when I say environmental issues and challenges, you need to understand that how human beings they are living over the earth surface. In that case, I would say that we all know that the population over the earth has increased a lot, especially in the last 100 years. The human life over the earth surface is quite long, but the increase in population that is more significant, more pronounced in the last 100 years or so. So that is one important issue and challenge in the context of environmental issues and challenges which we are facing. So first thing is the population over the earth surface. The second is, you see, the population, when we say that the population over the earth has increased, or if the population is still increasing over the earth surface, it has many meaning, because when they are over the earth surface, when their existence are over the earth surface, they have to perform certain activities, and these activities for their survival, we call it as economic activity. So all kinds of activities, they make some kind of transformations over the earth surface, some kind of changes over the earth surface. Now, what kind of changes they can make? You see, whatever activity, whether it is primary, which is nature-based activity, for example, agriculture, fishing, lumbering, these are, or mining, these are the primary activities. For that, they have to do some transformations over the earth surface. So that is one issue. Then, if you look into these activities, there is some kind of relationship between nature and human being. Now, in what way there is relationship between nature and human being? You see, I said that, for example, agricultural activity. For agricultural activity, the nature has to provide some opportunity to the human being. Not everywhere agriculture can be practiced. Not everywhere the mining process can be done. So in that context, nature's opportunity is important. So this is one important issue in the transformation. Then there is another important thing. You see, what level of activity human beings are doing. We have countries, African countries, which are less developed, say Ethiopia, and we have some developed countries also. So the same activity, it is being done in a different way. Then we have, say, desert area, and we have fertile agricultural tract like Ganga Yamuna Doab area, the Indo-Gangetic Plain area. And if you compare it with, say, some desert area, the agricultural activity is not possible. So in that context, I would say that these transformations and their activities also have, in some way, have its influence on the environment. Then what kind of processes? You see, for example, subsistence kind of activity or commercial activity. Initially, human beings, they were performing subsistence activity. Subsistence means whatever they wanted to acquire, they were producing that much. But now in modern day world, it is more of a commercial kind of activity where whatever is possible, we want to exploit it. We want to utilize the resources. So in that context, again, I would say that these processes would be very important. And when we talk about the challenges, you see, we all want sustainability over the Earth's surface. It is very difficult. We want whatever facilities, whatever possibility is there in our system, they should continue to exist, and our future generation can also use it. But now you see, this is not possible. It is quite contentious. So that's also an important challenge. And we are observing the impact. You look around you and you would find that all the environmental issues, all the environment is what? Environment is our surrounding. That surrounding is in some way is being compromised. So in that context, I would say the impacts are very important. So this is what the basic premises of my talk, which I would be sharing with you. So I gave you the idea that what I mean with environment. Environment is everything which surrounds us. And what are the issues and challenges? All this I have tried to explain in the beginning itself. And on that basis, I would give my perspective to you about the issues and challenges and how it is happening. The first point which I have highlighted, that is of increase in population. And I have said that after the Industrial Revolution, the population has increased significantly. This has been significant. It is enormous. The population increase is enormous over the Earth's surface. It is not only the increase in population, but also the well-being of the people over the Earth's surface. That is also substantial. So this is one important issue. You see, in 1900, the world appeared like this, where the population was only 1.6 billion. And in 2020, presently it is over 8 billion people. You see, in last 100 years, we have almost increased by 8 times. That's substantial. That's significant. So you just imagine the point which I have highlighted in my first slide, where I said that if the increase in population means more pronounced activities over the Earth's surface, that's an important issue and challenge. And when the population increase is happening, there is more activity over the Earth's surface. The population increase is also having one important feature. And that feature is that in modern day, more and more people, they are concentrated in the urban areas, the urban settlements. So what it means? It means that the more and more there is, on one side, the population is increasing, and on the other side, the more and more people are living, residing in smaller area, and this way the congestion and the resource utilization is altogether different. So now we all know that out of the 8 billion people, more than half of it, more than 55% people live in urban areas. So that's also an important issue and challenge, which I think is important to understand. You see, if I can bring here also, you must understand that what is the difference between urban and rural settlement. I would be coming to it later on, but I will just give you an idea. You see, rural population, you all know that rural population, they utilize the resources much lesser than the urban area. And that is also, you name the resource, water resource, food resource, air resource, the gases, the kind of activity which we do in urban areas, they are so pronounced. So there is difference between urban and rural areas. And here we are observing that more and more people, they are living now in urban area across the globe, everywhere in the world. This is the phenomena which we are observing. And if you only take the Indian census, I would say that combined India and China, they have 40% of the urban population in these countries. So India is not so urbanized, although I would be touching this issue also later on. But right now I can say that majority of urban population, they are living in these two countries, India and China, which are the most populous country in our over the earth's surface. So this is also an important issue which you need to understand and you think about it. Then you also know that I said that the well-being is happening. I'm just building my argument, and on that, in that basis, I am saying that how in the last 30-40 years, this urbanization process have increased substantially. And if the projection is to be believed, then we, in the context of sustainability, this would be a very important challenge for us. And worldwide, if you see that how the large urban areas, they are coming up in over the earth's surface in different countries. So this is also an important challenge, that over the years the urban population is increasing. Not only the urban population is increasing, but also well-being, खुशहाली जो है वो भी बढ़ रही है. The life expectancy is also increasing. So all these are important challenges which I am trying to highlight in the beginning. Now, what is urbanization? Urbanization is a process. ये एक प्रक्रिया है. Now, when I say that urbanization is one process, this process is very pronounced everywhere. Everyone wants to be in urban area because urban area have better amenities, facilities, and resource availability. And that is why United Nations have taken urbanization as an indicator to reflect the development. So that means that more than 55% of the earth now can be considered in some way, according to United Nations, are relatively developed than their rural counterpart. That's also an important issue which you should keep in mind, and we will discuss it later on. So these are important issues that I am trying to highlight. Then next would be what we mean with urbanization. Simply more and more people, they are converging, reaching into the urban area, and urban area is known for higher order economic activity, or I would say secondary and tertiary economic activity. Secondary and tertiary means industrial activity or the services. In urban areas, there cannot be primary activity, which are the nature-based activity. So this is what the basic distinction between rural and urban area worldwide. So when we are saying that the urban areas are increasing, that means more and more people, they are involved in higher order economic activity. And that is why I have said that the well-being is improving worldwide. Now I will bring my discussion to India. And very quickly, if I can give you some idea, we all have this perspective that India is a rural country. That's what we have studied. That's what we know about it. That up till 2011 census, 2021 census has not come yet, but 2011 census has also said that more than 69% of population are rural population. So if we consider that, I will bring some more insight into it. कुछ खास बात आपके लिए मैं यहाँ पे highlight करने की कोशिश करूँगा. First, I am giving you the idea that at the time of independence, we had around 15% of our population in urban area. There were only 5 cities with population of more than 1 million, that is 10 lakh. You just imagine the kind of increase in population and the size of urban population. At that time, at the time of independence, only 5 cities with population more than 10 lakh. Now Aligarh is also more than 10 lakh population. So you just imagine the kind of transformation which is happening. And 41 cities with population of 1 lakh. That was the status at the time of independence. We had only 15% of the population, urban population, at the time of independence. The 2011 census suggests that around 32%, 31.6% population urban. There were 3 cities with population more than 10 million and 53 cities. From 5, we have reached to 53 cities, more than 1 million. So that again will give you an enormity of the population increase in our country and the gap between rural and urban population. That's what the 2011 census is suggesting. It's not, it's authentic statistics which I am dealing with. The projection suggests that the 2025 we will have about 1450 million, somewhere around 145 to 150 crores of people in our country, and somewhere around 40% people in urban area. So that's again substantial. That's what the statistics suggest. Now in the discussion, I would bring some more important insight which will be interesting for you. You see, if you look over the globe, different countries have different proportion of urban population in their country. If you minutely look into the statistics, there are some countries which have 100% population as urban. For example, Singapore is one. Japan has 93.5%. India is ranked somewhere around 130 in the context of urbanization. You see, Argentina 14th rank with 92% population urban, Brazil 85.7%, Iran 73%, India with 31.7%, 161st rank. Now, do you think some kind of anomaly here? Because all these countries are developing countries, and I feel that India is more developed than any of these countries. But our urban population is much lesser. So that's also an important issue which you should keep in mind, and we will discuss it. Because all of them, they have some bearing on the larger context of environment. So I am putting this for your consideration, that you just think that much less developed country, they are much more urbanized, and our country is ranked at 161. So that's substantial. That's important. You should think about it. There is one more reason into it, that how you define urbanization, how you define urban population, and different countries have different criteria. I'm not going into the details of different countries' criteria because they have different setting. I will come to the Indian context. The Indian census suggests that what you see in India, it's the Indian census define urban area, but all the residuals, that means बाकी सारी settlement जो इस criteria में नहीं आ रही है, वो rural only. So what are these criteria? Any settlement more than population size of 5,000. You just imagine, most of our rural settlement have much more than the 5,000 population. We have rural settlement villages with population of 1 lakh. So you just think that how population is being considered as settlement in our country by the census. The next criteria is density of population. So any density with more than 400 persons per square kilometer can be considered as urban area. Now again, I would say many of our rural settlement have population density more than 400. Again, this definition can be challenged. Then in terms of economic activity, here again, I would say the kind of transformation in our country is going on, and the kind of progress our country is making. Anything more than 75% engaged in other than primary activity can be considered as urban area. That's what the Census of India suggests. But in our country, we see that many rural areas now, lot of transformation is taking place, and the people, they are switching to higher order economic activity, not necessarily in the rural activity, primary activity, agricultural activity. Although we say that agriculture is the main activity in our country. So here also some contention. So I am bringing all these issues and challenges to you to have some idea of the challenge which we are facing. So this is also an important issue. And there are many studies which suggest that there are large-scale transformation in rural areas. I'm not going into the detail. We may discuss it later on, but I would say that this is an important challenge, that the kind of transformation in rural area which we are observing, that means that no longer the rural areas are the same as it used to be. So in the context of definition given by Census of India, this rural urban dichotomy is very pronounced. That's the point which I want to make. Now, another dimension. You see, in geography, we use a lot of satellite imagery, and we deal with remotely sensed information also. One very interesting finding which I have found, and I would like to share with you, that census of India in 2011 suggests that we are about 31% of population urban area. But if you look into the size of settlement and the density of settlement of even rural area, the satellite imagery suggests that the Indian settlements are somewhere around 63%, which should be considered as urban settlement. You see the gap. 31% is census, according to census definition, but the satellite imagery, it suggests 63%. Now here you would say that how authentic this satellite imagery. I will give you some example. You see, when you look into the forest cover, when you look into the agricultural net zone area of our country, there also whatever government agencies suggest, the figures are far different in reality, because satellite imageries, they do not lie, they are actual. So here the consideration is the size of settlement, the consideration is the density of settlement. On that basis, the estimation suggests that the urban population is somewhere around 63% of 2011. So there is some kind of dichotomy. That's the point which I am trying to highlight in my discussion. Another interesting fact, you see, it is being said that the state of Uttar Pradesh is the most rural state. Somewhere around 20% population is urban, and rest 80% is the rural population in India, the state of Uttar Pradesh. But satellite imagery suggests altogether different. It gives different picture. It says around 80% is urban. Reason being, the satellite imagery think that the size of these rural settlements is quite large. The density of the population, density of houses are also quite dense. So on that basis, they are suggesting that 80% of the rural settlement in Uttar Pradesh are urban. On the contrary, census suggests around 20-22% as rural settlement. So this is also something which you should think about it, and we will discuss later on. Then I will come to the definition. You see, we have rural settlement categories and we have urban settlement categories, and both of them, they have overlapping. We have some rural settlements which are comparable to the size of urban population also. Again, it is a little complicated, but you just understand, if you are not following these statistics and following this issue, this academic discourse, then I would say that you just think that we have different kind of rural settlement, and on the basis of size of population, and different urban settlement also, urban class population, and both of them, they have overlapping, because the size of population are the same in both rural and urban settlements. So this is also an important issue. And on that basis, I did one study, using the 2011 census. It has been published in 2018, and it suggests that whatever criteria you take, somewhere around 50% population in India can be considered as urban. So here you see, if you take only the large villages which have population size larger than what census suggests, almost 50%, 47% population is urban, only on the basis of size of population. But if you see the spatial distribution, 55% urban population. And if you look into the density of population, again, almost 50% of the population, they can be said as urban. So this is where I would say that there is some issue, some challenge related with the census definition of rural and urban. The classification which census is suggesting and the enumeration which is taking place in census, it has this issue. That is one important aspect which I am trying to highlight. Why I am trying to highlight this? Because my submission here is that the resource utilization the environmental impact by urban population would be greater than the rural population. That's my hypothesis. So that is why I have tried to highlight this rural-urban dichotomy. Moving ahead, now I'll skip that. Now I would like to compare the situation between India and China, because both of them, they are comparable. Both of them, they are the largest population over the earth's surface, over the globe. If you compare, since independence, I would say that we are more or less matching with the Chinese policies. For example, you see, India at the time of independence, 17% of population. In 1950, China had only 13% population urban. So that way, you see that how the population has increased. Both of these countries have increased population. But what has happened in modern day, in present day, the Chinese population, they are more urbanized. And it is a systematic urbanization process which has happened in China. I would give you some important aspect, feature of that. I am bringing the planning aspect of India and China urbanization process. There is one system of China which it says Hukou system. You see, systematically China did transfer their population from rural to urban area. Systematically, I am saying systematically. It was not the population migration as it is happening in our country. They shifted the entire household. That means male, his female counterpart, and their children. Everyone has to relocate to the urban area with assured economic activity in urban area, depending on their abilities, and education, assured education to the children. That system is known as the Hukou system. It's a complex, but I'm just giving you that is how, in planned, phased manner, China has transferred their rural population to urban areas. In India, it is not. It is the forced migration in Indian urbanization. So because of that, there are many more challenges which we will discuss later on. So this is also an important issue where I am bringing in the planning aspect also. So my submission here is that we need to be a little cautious. We need to plan more effectively. That's the issue. The kind of investment China has made into their urban settlements is exceedingly high. Now, I'm not going into that issue because investment is altogether dependent on many issues, which I'm not bringing in my discussion. But I'm just saying that through planned transformation, China has become more urbanized, although they also have challenges in their urban area. But our urban population is somewhat neglected in this context, that the amenities and facilities and resources and employment opportunities are much lesser. And the migration is not like China. That's the point which I wanted to make here. I'm coming to the urban planning because in the last part, I would be touching upon the planning also. We had many planning initiatives in our country, specifically for urban area, for the development of urban area. There have been many success stories also, but since the population and the number of settlement is so large, that still we need more investment and we need more development. That's another point which I would like to highlight. I am skipping all that. Now I am coming to this issue, which is the focal theme of my argument. You see, when we talk about environmental issues and challenges, we need to understand that how we are living. I tried to give you the comparison between urban and rural settlement. So here you see the environmental challenges are much more severe in urban area than the rural area. And when I am trying to project that the urbanization process is more pronounced worldwide and even in India, that means these challenges are more pronounced in our country. You look around you, and when we talk about environment, it is not only physical, the social, cultural, economic environment. They are also very important. And everywhere we would find challenges. So environment is everything around us where human being, they interact with it. You see, nature offers opportunity, and human being, they utilize these opportunity and survive over the earth's surface and create an environment. That's the basic premises of my argument. And I talked about sustainability. So the sustainability can be achieved through three ways. Either conserving the resources. Conserving means what? हम इस्तेमाल ही ना करें, उसको बचाएं. प्रोटेक्टिंग भी बचाना है. जैसे आप देखें, फॉरेस्ट को हम प्रोटेक्ट करना चाहते हैं. We try to protect many animals, etc., which are getting instinct. So these are important protect. But the solution lies in enhancing the productivity. This is where the technology can play an important role. So my submission here is that the sustainability can be achieved through technology, where we would enhance the productivity of the commodities which we are utilizing. And this is happening. For example, आप देखें, green revolution जब आया तो गेहूं चावल का उत्पादन बढ़ गया. So this is because of technology. So productivity was increased. This is a very crude example, but this is one example. एक और एग्जाम्पल अगर आपको मैं दूं तो हमारी जो मोटरसाइकिल थी वो 15 साल पहले जो एवरेज दे रही थी उससे ऑलमोस्ट दुगना एवरेज आज की मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी की वजह से दे रही है. तो ये प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ रही. लेकिन देयर इज वन इंपॉर्टेंट इशू हियर. You see, the access to the technology is not uniform over the surface. That's also a big challenge for sustainability. This is also very important. And here I would say that we require introspection and effective assessment, everyone over the earth's surface, because this is a big challenge for all of us. So I'll come back to my issue. Population is increasing, the demand is increasing, more and more commercialization is happening. There is more element of human greed. जब हम कॉमर्शलाइजेशन की बात करते हैं तो हम जानते हैं कि इंसान का लालच भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. हमें जरूरत हो या ना हो, हम उस रिसोर्स को अपने स्वामित्व में लाना चाहते हैं और उसका उपभोग करना चाहते हैं. So this greed is also very important and critical, and all of them, they have bearing on the population, on the environment. So this is a big challenge that I have tried to highlight. Now, specifically, if I can take only the land resource, सिर्फ भूमि संसाधन के ऊपर अगर मैं बात करूं तो मैं कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट बात आपके सामने रखना चाहता हूं. You see, land is a finite resource. इसको बढ़ाया नहीं जा सकता. ये जितनी है उतनी ही रहेगी. इसकी उत्पादकता को बढ़ा सकते हैं हम, लेकिन इसको बढ़ा नहीं सकते. I will give you the example of earlier civilization. पुराने जमाने में होता था ना कि अश्वमेध यज्ञ, जहां तक घोड़ा गया राजा का हो गया वो लैंड. Now it is not possible. No country, very less chance of any country winning over others' land, other countries' land. It's not so easily possible. So that way I'm saying that the finite resource. So when the population is increasing, when the resource utilization is increasing, it will have its bearing on the environment. That's important. और जब मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि population बढ़ रही है, तो you see, there is one important ratio between land and man, and this land-man ratio is decreasing. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि 8 गुना population 100 साल में बढ़ी है, तो 8 गुना जमीन का स्वामित्व भी तो घट गया. ये भी बहुत important issue है अगर सिर्फ land resource की हम बात करें. Then in the context of transformation, you would find that everywhere, you see, when population started to increase, we cut down the forest, and the cropland increase worldwide was increased by 24%. It's significant. And all the transformations, they are so pronounced. So I'm not going into the detail, but you can understand what is happening. Now come to India. Very interesting figure which I want to show you. You see, this is about a map which suggests the land transformation in our country. In 1990, in the Punjab plain, You see here, this is the Punjab Haryana plain. You all know that this is the bread basket of our country. ज्यादातर खाद्यान्न का उत्पादन और पूरे देश को जो खाद्यान्न की आपूर्ति है वो यहीं से होती है. और यहाँ की स्थिति आप देखें, ज्यादातर ग्रीन दिख रहा है. दैट मीन्स एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड इज was found in 1990. There are large red spots. These are the urban settlements in Punjab Haryana plain. But there are, अगर आप बारीकी से देखें तो उसमें कुछ लाल छोटे स्पॉट भी आप देख रहे हो. These red small spots are rural settlements. So this is 1990, and if you see carefully, you would see in 2000 it has increased, and in 2015 it has increased further. Now you see the red set points, the red spots, they have increased significantly. What it means? It means that the rural settlement in the fertile agricultural tract have increased substantially. That's also an important issue which I want to bring. That means what kind of land transformation is happening in our country? In fertile agricultural tract, settlements are expanding there. Rural settlement is also expanding. It is quite obvious that the urban settlement would increase, but it is also the rural settlement which are increasing. That's an interesting point. You go to the South India, the example is there that built-up area is increasing there, agricultural land is decreasing, and fallow land, sorry, this is the Delhi and its adjoining area. The fallow land is the speculative land holding, where agriculture is being abandoned and the land is put idle. Why? In and around urban area, दिल्ली के आसपास आप देखेंगे कि जमीन खाली छोड़ दी जा रही है, क्योंकि वहां पे जमीन की कीमत तब ज्यादा होगी जब वो परती छोड़ी गई है, फेलो लैंड छोड़ा गया है. वो स्पेकुलेटिव लैंड होल्डिंग हम कहते हैं कि वो दाम ज्यादा होगा तो वो बिक जाएगी, लेकिन अगर खेती हो रही होगी तो जमीन की कीमत कम होगी. This kind of situation in and around Delhi. Then if you look into the South India, there forest land is decreasing and agricultural land is increasing. If you look into the northeast, especially Assam Valley, there also forest land is decreasing and agricultural land is increasing. That is the situation. These are the hot spots in our country. And everywhere the transformation is taking place in such a manner which will have its bearing on the environment. The natural environment as well as man-made environment. As I am saying, there are natural environment, physical environment, but also the social, economic, and cultural environment. They are also being under threat because of this transformation. That's the point which I am making. Then if you see, that means what? That means that land conversion is taking place, land degradation is taking place, land fragmentation is taking place. Now this is also an important issue if you think about it. I said that the population is increasing in India and elsewhere also. And in India, we have law of inheritance. That means what? That means कि अगर 50 साल पहले एक किसान के पास 10 बीघा जमीन थी, तो 2 जनरेशन में वो 1 बीघा जमीन रह गई. क्यों? क्योंकि उसके अगर 4 बेटे हुए तो वो बराबर बट गए, मान लीजिए. और दूसरी जनरेशन में फिर बराबर बट गए, 4 बेटे हुए. तो 2 जनरेशन में एक बड़ा किसान एक छोटा किसान बन गया. This is also an important issue, land fragmentation, because we have this kind of social system in our country. So this is also an important challenge. And the kind of transformation is happening, 3.2 million hectare in last 30 years, the agricultural land we have lost out. And 1.6 million hectare, the fallow land, the speculative land holding जो मैंने आपसे कहा था, that has increased. So this is what the enormity of the issue which I wanted to highlight. Now the statistics, very quickly. You see, the statistics will not give you a good idea, but here you can see what it means, the transformation in India which is happening in the context of land resource. You see here, forest land has increased. I will come to it later. Forest land in last 60-70 years since independence have increased. That's what the statistics, government statistics suggest. But important are the barren land and wasteland, the fallow land. You see, initially when fallow land decreased, that was because the extension of irrigation facilities in our country in the initial period. But now it is more the speculative landholding. Because of that, द फेलो लैंड इज इंक्रीजिंग, परती जमीन बढ़ रही। एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड पहले बढ़ी, जैसे ही मैंने बताया इरिगेशन फैसिलिटी बढ़ी, खेती के लिए बहुत इन्वेस्टमेंट किया गवर्नमेंट ने, बहुत तवज्जो दी, तो वो खेती के हालात बने, एग्रीकल्चर होने लगी। लेकिन अब गिर कम हो रहा है। मैंने आपको बताया 3.2 million hectares of agricultural land we have lost out in last 30 years. So this is important. And the non-agricultural land, this is important. That has increased substantially, almost double. This reflects the kind of development we are having in our country. This means urbanization is taking place. This means the infrastructure facilities is increasing. Because of that, non-agricultural land is increasing. So these are important issues in the context of land resource. I will highlight this. I said that forest cover, government statistics suggest it is increasing, but we need to understand why it is and why and how it is increasing. I am giving you the example. This is what the government suggests, that we have increase in forest cover. But actually what has happened, we have changed the definition of forest cover. We have more the open forest category land has increased. The dense and moderate density forest have decreased actually. तो हुआ क्या है, जो ओपन फॉरेस्ट हैं, जो आप फोटो देखें तो आपको अंदाजा हो जाएगा कि जहां पेड़ की संख्या कम है वो फॉरेस्ट तो बहुत बड़ा है, इसलिए ओवरऑल फॉरेस्ट कवर बढ़ा है। लेकिन इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ एनवायरमेंट द डेंस फॉरेस्ट हैज डिक्रीज सब्सटेंशियली, बहुत ज्यादा तादाद में डेंस फॉरेस्ट कम हुआ है और ओपन फॉरेस्ट बढ़ा है। तो ये भी एक इंपॉर्टेंट इशू है फॉरेस्ट कवर के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में, जो हमारा लैंड यूज स्टैटिस्टिक्स कह रहा है बढ़ गया। नाउ अनदर इंपॉर्टेंट डायमेंशन टू द लैंड रिसोर्स, द लैंड डिग्रेडेशन। You see, land degradation is another important feature. हमने देखा कि एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड शुरुआती इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद शुरुआती दौर में बढ़ा, क्यों? क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत इन्वेस्ट किया। लेकिन वो इन्वेस्टमेंट और वो जो ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन के जो आफ्टर इफेक्ट आने लगे, तो उसमें लैंड डिग्रेडेशन बहुत हुआ, और ये लैंड डिग्रेडेशन बहुत बड़ी तादाद में हुआ। आप देखें कि करीब 100 मिलियन हेक्टेयर लैंड डिग्रेडेड है आज की तारीख में, 2022 में का रिकॉर्ड है, ये स्टैटिस्टिक्स है। और इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेट्स जो हैं उसमें 80% बढ़ा, राजस्थान, महाराष्ट्र, गुजरात, कर्नाटका, इनमें इंपॉर्टेंट बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ा। और कुछ स्टेट उसके 30% लैंड जो है वो डिग्रेडेड लैंड। सो दैट इज द सिचुएशन ऑफ लैंड डिग्रेडेशन. It is not only about the availability of land, but the quality of land, it is also important. So in that context, this is also an important issue. Now I will bring in another dimension to my argument. मैंने आपसे कहा कि नॉन एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड का बढ़ना बहुत अच्छा है, क्योंकि ये खुशहाली को दिखा रहा है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरल डेवलपमेंट को दिखा रहा है, देश की प्रगति को दिखा रहा है। अगर हम स्टेट वाइज देखें तो मैक्सिमम जो नॉन एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड बढ़ा है वो स्टेट उत्तर प्रदेश में बढ़ा है। आंध्र प्रदेश, उड़ीसा, मध्य प्रदेश, बिहार, तमिलनाडु, राजस्थान, इन स्टेट में नॉन एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड सबसे ज्यादा बढ़ा है। अब आप इमेजिन कीजिए, मैं उत्तर प्रदेश से आता हूं, आप में से बहुत सारे लोग उत्तर प्रदेश में होंगे। यहाँ पे अगर आप इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरल फैसिलिटीज देखेंगे, एमिनिटीज फैसिलिटीज देखेंगे, सो per capita availability of infrastructure and amenities and facilities are very poor. That means for the development of country, the state of Uttar Pradesh require much more than what non-agricultural land transformation has taken place. इससे कहीं ज्यादा चाहिए हमें। तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि इन स्टेट में, आप उत्तर प्रदेश, आंध्र प्रदेश, उड़ीसा, मध्य प्रदेश, बिहार, ये वो स्टेट है जिनको कभी बीमारू स्टेट कहा गया था। तो यहाँ डेवलपमेंट तो हुआ, लेकिन आप देखिए कि किस लेवल का डेवलपमेंट हमें चाहिए, ये भी इंपॉर्टेंट है। और अगर वो होगा तो कितना लैंड लॉस होगा, ये भी इंपॉर्टेंट है। ये भी एक पहलू है, मैं इसको हाईलाइट करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ। नाउ अनदर इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट, यू सी, आई सेड दैट there have been lot of progress in the agricultural sector because of government planning and initiative. And the agricultural land have been brought into the agricultural sector. The other land, the wasteland, have also been brought into the agricultural sector. That's a very good initiative. But you see, which are the states where these development was reflected? Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Assam, Jammu and Kashmir. These are the leading states where net zone area have increased. राजस्थान रेगिस्तानी इलाका है, वहां पे इरिगेशन इंदिरा गांधी केलान एरिया पहुंचा इसलिए हुआ। सरदार सरोवर डैम और गुजरात में इरिगेशन प्रोजेक्ट्स की वजह से वहां पे बेहतरी हुई। मध्य प्रदेश में भी बेहतरी हुई। आसाम जो कि फॉरेस्टेड एरिया था, ब्रह्मपुत्रा वैली का एरिया था, वहां पे फॉरेस्ट कट हुआ, वहां पे एग्रीकल्चर बढ़ा। जम्मू कश्मीर एक पहाड़ी इलाका, वहां पे फॉरेस्ट कट हुआ और वहां पे। Now you see the cost of production. You see what we are observing, that in state like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya, these are the states where Andhra Pradesh, these are the states where fertile agricultural land is existing, and there we are losing out fertile agricultural land. And Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Assam, Jammu and Kashmir, these are the states where the physical conditions are different, and we are increasing the agricultural land there. So again, I would say that you need to keep in mind that what kind of transformation we are observing in our country in the context of agricultural land, which will have its bearing on the larger environment. Another important aspect. You see, I said that agricultural land is decreasing. You see the statistics, you would see that what magnitude, किस पैमाने पे खेती की जमीन कम हो रही है। मैंने कहा आपको कि बड़ा किसान छोटा बन जा रहा है, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ सामाजिक जो रीति रिवाज है वो इस तरह से है कि जमीन का बंटवारा होता है। You see, the number of operational holding has increased. That is a good example for what the argument which I am putting forward. And the average size of operational holding have almost half in the last 30 years. That is quite obvious. And important is that Uttar Pradesh, which is the leading rural agrarian state, 77% of the farmers, they are marginal farmers. जिनके पास जमीन 1 हेक्टेयर से कम है, 77% फार्मर के पास। इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? वो अपनी रोजी रोटी उस 1 हेक्टेयर जमीन से नहीं चला सकते। It is uneconomic land holding. You look into the statistics that suggest that the kind of scenario we have in agricultural sector, it is quite alarming. And again, I am trying to relate it with the environmental condition. So what is happening? The farm household, you see, that is why we are witnessing the kind of migration we are observing from rural to urban area. उनके पास कोई सलाहियत, उनके पास कोई तकनीकी ज्ञान नहीं है, लेकिन वो अर्बन एरिया आ जा रहे हैं और मजदूरी कर रहे हैं। But the kind of social environment we are witnessing, that is quite significant. Here you see, in last 6 years, between 2012 and 2018, some 172 rural household, 54% household have shifted their bases, and marginal farmers are increasing. That's an important issue. Now I come to my own research, and I would try to highlight. I talked about the global scenario, I talked about the national scenario. I come from Aligarh. आप में से बहुत सारे लोग अब समझ गए होंगे कि अलीगढ़ कहाँ पे है, और अलीगढ़ एक छोटा शहर है उत्तर प्रदेश में, वेस्टर्न उत्तर प्रदेश। I did this study for the entire tehsil, and I found that in only 15-17 years, the agricultural land have decreased in the rural hinterland of Aligarh city. मैं अलीगढ़ सिटी की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, अलीगढ़ कोल तहसील जिसमें अलीगढ़ आता है उसकी बात कर रहा हूँ। वहां पे करीब 20% एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड कम हो गया। इंपॉर्टेंट बात यह है कि दिस decrease in agricultural land was not utilized for any kind of development, urban development, infrastructural development. That is not happening. It is more of a vacant land increase, which I am saying speculative land. तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि हम जो डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है वो बहुत प्लान नहीं है, और ये सब महत्वाकांक्षी डेवलपमेंट है जिसमें किसान अपनी जमीन को छोड़ दे रहा है, उसमें खेती नहीं कर रहा है, जो भी वजह हो रही है, हम लोग उसके ऊपर भी आएंगे, और वो किसी उपयोग में नहीं है। You see, how we call land as a resource, हम भूमि को संसाधन किस बात पे कह रहे हैं कि उसकी कुछ उत्पादकता है, और अगर उसको किसी इस्तेमाल में ना लिया जाए तो उससे कोई उत्पादकता नहीं मिलेगी। तो ये उस तरह की परिस्थिति है। और ये एक छोटा सा शहर है, लेकिन आप किसी भी शहर में अपने ये एग्जाम्पल को आप देखेंगे, इस तरह की स्टडी करेंगे तो आप ये पाएंगे कि इस तरह का फिनोमेना जो है दैट इज प्रिविलेंट एवरीवेयर in Uttar Pradesh and most of the North Indian states. Even in the South India, this is happening. And I gave you the example of the kind of transformation which is happening in South India also. I talked about the land fragmentation. जोत का आकार छोटा होता चला जा रहा है. क्यों? क्योंकि एक किसान अपने बच्चों में उन जमीन का बंटवारा कर दे रहा है. आप सब इस बात से सहमत होंगे. और ये बात, ये स्टडी को हमने साइंटिफिक ढंग से, एक जीआईएस टेक्निक है, मैं उस टेक्निक पे नहीं जाना चाहता हूं, लेकिन मैं अपना एनालिसिस के बेसिस पे ये कह रहा हूं कि पूरे कोल तहसील में अलीगढ़ के आसपास सिर्फ 10% जोत का आकार बड़ा है, बाकी सारा छोटा हो गया. इसको अगर मैं समराइज करूं इस मैप को, तो मैं अपने डिसिप्लिन को नहीं, मैं जानता हूं कि ये इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी ग्रुप है आपका, तो मैं सिर्फ ये बात रखने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं कि किस तरह से लैंड फ्रेगमेंटेशन हो रहा है. अगर आप सिर्फ ज्योग्राफी के होते तो मैं इसको हाईलाइट करता कि ये क्या प्रोसेस है, किस तरह से मैंने इसको अचीव किया. वी मे डिस्कस इट इफ यू वुड लाइक वांट टू नो द मेथोडोलॉजी in adopting it, but this is what I have observed, that only 10% of the land is large land holding. You see why I am putting before you. मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूं क्योंकि जब हम एनवायरनमेंट की बात करते हैं तो आप ये देखें कि ये जो जिस तरह के ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन, बदलाव जो हो रहे हैं, इन सब का असर एनवायरनमेंट पे होगा. तो मैं जो टॉपिक, मैंने जो थीम लिया है, चैलेंजेस, क्या क्या इश्यूज हैं, क्या परिस्थितियां हैं और ये किस तरह से हमें प्रभावित कर सकती है, इसके ऊपर मैं ला रहा हूं. तो ये डिफरेंट इश्यूज को मैं हाईलाइट करने की कोशिश करूंगा. नाउ I have talked about the peripheral area of the city. Now, as a student of geography, I am giving you an idea of the land use within the city, and it also have a very important dimension which I would like to highlight. This is 3 time period data, 1980. Now you carefully look into the map. It is the 2000 and this is the 2020. So you can see that city has expanded. That's not so significant. The significance lies here. If you look into the index of it, here you would find that here the vacant land is increasing significantly. What the vacant land, which was 600 hectares in 1980, now it is more than 3,500. That means 3,000 hectare increase of vacant land, speculative land in the city also. I have said 20% increase in the rural area. That was somewhere around 20,000 hectares. Here also 3,000 hectares. So you see, overall, everywhere vacant land is increasing. That's an important issue. And what kind of transformation we are observing? So again, in GIS and remote sensing, in the discipline of geography, we do this kind of study. And where if I can summarize that, more and more agricultural land is being used for built up land in urban area, urban usage. That's the point which I am trying to highlight. These are the maps, the transformation between 1980 to 2020. We may discuss it later on. If you would like, I can explain it more. And this is the statistics about it. Again, we may discuss it later on. Now I would come to the planning aspect of the urban area. Since I did study for Aligarh city, so I bring in the discussion the master plan. You see, in Aligarh we had 2 master plan. One is 1980 to 2000 and another is 2000 to 2021. And I did this study for both the period, but I am bringing before you the 2000 to 2021 master plan, and I try to evaluate that how successful is our planning. देखिए, मैंने चाइना की प्लानिंग की आपको बताया था, हालांकि कुछ ही पॉइंट बताए थे, लेकिन वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट थे. अब आप सोचिए कि किस तरह की प्लानिंग वहां की गई और हमारे यहाँ क्या प्लानिंग. ये लैंड यूज से रिलेटेड आप सब जानते हैं कि मास्टर प्लान इज ऑल अबाउट द estimated changes in the population and the requirement for different land use classes. On that basis, the City Development Authority proposes certain plan which is called as master plan. That is what the master plan. And this is what the map which the City Development Authority has produced. It had core area which was already developed, so they did not propose anything on that. Now you just look into the maps. As a student of geography, I can give you the real transformation. You just look into the screen. So this is what, where already city was existing, no changes was possible, so master plan has ignored it. Then they have proposed, since they look into the increase in population from 2000 to 2020, and on that basis they propose that this much should be the built up area, this much should be the commercial area, this much should be educational, for educational purposes, this much for the industrial area, and this much for the residential area. That kind of plan they have made for Aligarh city. And importantly, you see, this is also an important feature of master plan of North Indian cities, that they have protected the surrounding agricultural land. In the urban development plan, urban land use plan, they have protected the agricultural land. ये बहुत ही important issue है, हम लोग इसको भी discuss करेंगे बाद में, लेकिन मैं ये highlight कर रहा हूँ कि this is what the city development plan, protecting the peripheral agricultural land. This is the master plan. Now you see, now I will try to give you insight into how successful was the master plan. I would request you to see the screen very minutely so that you can understand the point which I am highlighting. So you see, this is what the area which was developed during the master plan period. इन 20 सालों में ये डेवलपमेंट हुआ. अगर आप ये वाली लाइन देखेंगे, ये डॉटेड लाइन देखेंगे जिस पे मेरा कर्सर घूम रहा है, ये सिटी म्युनिसिपल लिमिट है. तो ये जो मास्टर प्लान जो था वो म्युनिसिपल लिमिट के बाहर भी था, तो ये डेवलपमेंट बाहर का भी आपको दिख रहा है ना. तो ये बिल्ट अप एरिया. अब इंपॉर्टेंट है, अब आप गौर कीजिएगा मेरे मैप पे, अपने स्क्रीन पे. There are violations in master plan. What it means? It means that whatever have been proposed specific land use in the master plan, actually some other land use class has come up. So these are violations. That's another important aspect in our planning. Then another important aspect. You see, मैंने कहा मास्टर प्लान क्या है? मास्टर प्लान है कि जब जनसंख्या बढ़ रही है किसी शहर की, तो उसके मुताबिक उसमें एमिनिटीज फैसिलिटीज का विस्तार हो. लेकिन जो प्रपोज किया है सिटी डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी ने, वो हुआ ही नहीं, ये अनडेवलप रह गया. इस पे जो लैंड यूज क्लास प्रपोज किया वो हुआ ही नहीं. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो एन इंपॉर्टेंट इशू which you need to keep in mind. So this is an important assessment of master plan for Aligarh city. Now another important thing, you see, this is the violations by different land use class. Important जो है वो residential class ने ही ज्यादा violation किया. ये रहा undeveloped. Now again I would say, request you to look into the screen. Here you would see that how the speculative land holding, they are coming up in the undeveloped area. Now what it means, देखिए जमीन किसी ने खरीद ली जहां पे प्रपोज था, मान लीजिए स्कूल या पार्क या इंडस्ट्रियल जोन में, और हम सब जानते हैं कि हिंदुस्तान में जिसका स्वामित्व होगा, भूमि स्वामित्व होगा, वो अपने हिसाब से कुछ ना कुछ करके उसका ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन अपने हिसाब से उसका इस्तेमाल करता है. तो आप देखिए किस लेवल का वायलेशन हुआ है जो स्पेकुलेटिव है. So this is also an important challenge for urban development in our country. और अगर इसको स्टैटिस्टिक्स के रूप में देखें तो हम ये पाते हैं कि करीब 60% डेवलप नहीं हो पाया और 30% वायलेशन, 90% गड़बड़ है प्लानिंग में, मास्टर प्लान में, रिजल्ट में. ये मैं कहूंगा, मैंने दिल्ली के ऊपर भी ये काम किया. और दिल्ली में भी अगर आप देखें वो लाल डोरा वाला कॉन्सेप्ट, अगर आपको दिल्ली की परिस्थितियों का ज्ञान हो तो आप ये पाएंगे कि वहां पे भी बहुत ल्यूटेंस, दिल्ली को छोड़ दीजिए आप, लेकिन पेरिफेरल एरिया में हरियाणा साइड, उत्तर प्रदेश साइड बहुत ज्यादा वायलेशन हुआ है। दिल्ली में भी, दिल्ली के भी जो प्लान है उसमें भी। तो वहां सुप्रीम कोर्ट और सारी एजेंसीज के रहते हुए जब वायलेशन हो रहे हैं तो हमारे यहाँ तो वायलेशन ज्यादा हो ही सकता है। ये इंसानी फितरत है। मैं यही बात आपको बताना चाह रहा था कि ग्रीड ऑफ ह्यूमन बीइंग, they are so dominant over human activities, which is the result that the kind of environment we are observing. That's the point which I was making. एक और important planning aspect बहुत जल्दी से मैं आपको बताने की कोशिश करता हूं, और ये है स्मार्ट सिटी का। देखिए मॉडर्न आफ्टर 2014, when BJP government came, they had proposed a very ambitious and very important urban development plan in the form of smart city. And we had about 100 cities which were identified for rapid development and growth, for urban development. It was a very ambitious and very important initiative by the present government. एंड दैट गवर्नमेंट, इसका बैकग्राउंड मैं आपको जल्दी से बताऊं, अगर आप इसको बहुत नहीं समझ रहे हो तो मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि स्मार्ट सिटी का जो कॉन्सेप्ट था वो ये था कि देखिए पूरे शहर का डेवलपमेंट बहुत मुश्किल, और ये बहुत सक्सेसफुली गुजरात में 2-3 शहरों में इंप्लीमेंट किया गया, और उसी से बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट ने इसको इंप्लीमेंट किया 100 शहरों में। बहुत सक्सेसफुली अप्लाई किया है गुजरात के 2 शहरों में। और ये आइडिया ये था कि पूरे शहर को डेवलप करना मुश्किल है, तो वहां पे उन्होंने कहा कुछ एरिया में वी शुड हैव रीडेवलपमेंट, दैट मींस डिमोलिश द लैंड एंड इरेक्ट अ न्यू स्ट्रक्चर देयर। सेकंड वाज रिट्रोफिटिंग। रिट्रोफिटिंग वाज बीच बीच में गैप रहते हैं शहर में, वहां पे कुछ लैंड यूज का इस्तेमाल हो जाए। और तीसरा ग्रीनफील्ड वेकेंट लैंड जो है उसमें कुछ डेवलपमेंट हो जाए। तो ये बेसिक अजम्पशन था, बेसिक फिलॉसफी थी स्मार्ट सिटी की, जो हिंदुस्तान में भी कुछ शहरों में और दुनिया में डेवलप्ड कंट्री में स्मार्ट सिटी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले किया अर्बन डेवलपमेंट में। और इसमें फिर टेक्नोलॉजी और स्मार्ट इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ, आप देखें आजकल मॉडर्न डे में आप देख रहे होंगे कि बहुत सारे शहरों में बहुत सारे स्मार्ट इनिशिएटिव हैं। बिजली का बिल देखिए आप, पानी का बिल देखिए आप, जिस तरह से इलेक्ट्रिसिटी वायरिंग हो रही है, रोड्स, स्ट्रीट लाइट हो रही है, ये सारे स्मार्ट इनिशिएटिव्स हैं। सो इट वाज अ वेरी गुड इनिशिएटिव, बट अगेन आई वुड से अलीगढ़ वाज वन important city which was selected for smart city initiative. I have assessed the improvement in Aligarh city also, and I would like to share with you some examples. Now I'm skipping this the important issues. This is very important. You see the kind of human behavior that is very important here. There were 55 projects which were approved for under the smart city banner. Some 18,000 crore rupees were to be invested. In the last, now the smart city period has already over now in Aligarh city. And only 11 projects were completed. Out of the 55 projects, 11 projects were completed. That is the gap between the reality, the proposals and the realities of achievement. That is the difference. There are still many projects which are going on. There are many issues related with fund release and misuse of the funds. I'm not going into the detail. You can understand. You have this examples in many of the cities that how the funds are being released and how the funds are misused. The point is also in this also this is happening in Aligarh city. So very quickly, we had one road which was to be developed. Those who are joining from Aligarh, they know that from University Circle to railway station, the road was developed. Only this road account for about 17 crores of rupees. So this was one. Then there were smart junctions. Aligarh city had many, since the city expanded and prosperity came, so there were many areas which were facing traffic congestion. So under the smart city, smart junctions were proposed, and there were about, I suppose, some 50 crores, 14 major junctions of the city were under the smart city. Smart junctions were achieved. Now these are all completed. I must say that these were completed, but you see the situation has not changed much. Those who are from Aligarh, they know that although we have red light area, red lights have been installed, smart junctions have been made, but we are still not following the rules, etc., and the traffic congestion has not eased out. That's the point which I would like to highlight. It has not reflected. Now, when I say that improvement in roads and footpaths in the smart city, that has really been achieved. This is one very important CBD area, the Central Business District of Aligarh city. It is known as Center Point. There, a very neat and clean footpath, etc., have been constructed with railings around it. Very good improvement we have achieved there, and I'll come to it later on. But these are the pictures which gives you an idea that how effectively these plans have been proposed and executed. Then there was water supply issue. I'm not going into the detail. I'm just finishing it off that this was also an issue, and many part of the city we had water lines have been laid down so that the people can access good potable water. So this is also important. Under the smart city, rain harvesting system was also implemented. Again, I would say that these all progress were successful. There are some pending water reorganization schemes which are still pending in some part of the city. But you see, these are all pictures which I have taken during the progress which were made under the smart city. One important progress was done in the solid waste management also. So we had state-of-art bins were installed at various locations, and now the many vehicles, they are collecting the waste and they are recycling it. So this good initiative has also been taken in the urban planning period in our country, in Aligarh city. So these are the evidences of development. Then there were two flagship projects in Aligarh city. Very interesting in the context of environment for Aligarh city, and we will discuss it later on. But I'm just putting before you the smart city planning, which is so critical for preserving and protecting our environment. I said about the retrofitting and greenfield development. That is some area which can be developed. So the two under the smart city, two flagship projects were in Aligarh city. Those are from Aligarh. They know one has come up in Lal Dighi. It is a water body. It was a natural water body which was known as Lal Dighi. At that place, one commercial center has come up, which is known as Habitat Center. And the natural water body was transformed into man-made water body, which is tiled. तो उसके फर्श पे टाइल्स बिछा दी गई है, किनारों पे टाइल्स बिछा दी गई है, और उसका असर ये हुआ है कि जब कभी बारिश होगी तो उसके आसपास के इलाके से जो पानी इस वाटर बॉडी में आता था अब नहीं आता है. इसको एलिवेट कर दिया गया, थोड़ा सा उठा दिया गया इस पूरे एरिया को, और पानी अब उन आबादियों में ही रहता है. तो ये एक इम्पोर्टेंट चीज हुई है. एंड इफ this is what the example, and this is what the imagery of it. This was the Lal Dighi which was existing, and now here that conventional center has come up, habitat center has come up, and this entire water body has been squeezed. ये छोटा हो गया और वो man made हो गया जिसमें टाइलिंग हो गई. तो ये जो नेचुरल वाटर बॉडी थी इसका नुकसान हुआ है. ये इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है हैबिटेट सेंटर पे. आप देखें ये इस तरह का सैटेलाइट इमेजरी है. दूसरा जो है अचल ताल, इट इज in the older part of the city. It's again a water body, and here one recreational center has been developed in the water body itself. One शिव जी की मूर्ति को वहां पे लगाया गया है जो एक धार्मिक है. रिक्रिएशनल सेंटर इसको डेवलप किया गया. But you see, that was also a natural water body. You see here, this is the Achal Tal, and it is surrounded by settlement from everywhere, from all sides. And again, it has been transformed into a man-made water body with a recreational center around it. It's a very, both of these projects, they were highly successful in the way that they have appeared as good urban infrastructure. But in the context of environment, the natural water body has been transformed. That's my point, which I wanted to highlight. So you see here, this water body is now man-made water body, and the recreational center has been developed in between the water body. But for urban population, it's a good transformation, I would say. Now, another dimension. You see, I talked about environment. So I talked about physical environment. I talked about rural-urban environment. Now the social environment. The social environment means what? That how these development have been achieved. These development have been achieved through demolishing the encroachment. Now, this is quite, what I should say, obvious. जब कभी भी एनक्रोचमेंट हो रहा है मतलब वो इलीगल काम है तो उसको तो हटाना ही होगा. But you see the kind of demolition which has taken place in Aligarh city in the context of social environment. At that time, these pictures, if I have not said this, that this is the demolition over the encroachment, you would say that ये तो लग रहा है अफगानिस्तान है क्या जो वहां बम्बार्डमेंट हो. उस तरह का एग्जाम्पल दिख रहा है, आप देखें इसको. So this is what has happened, because for years the encroachment continued, and when the government initiative came for development, this kind of demolition, the picture of demolition came. You see here, this is how the demolition picture came. It had resulted into social unrest. That's the point which I want to make. And it is not for some section. The rich also came under the bulldozer here. The poor also came. The different religion came into it. It was uniform for everyone, I must say. But it is not about any specific area. It was a specific area, but largely it affected everyone in that locality. But it created some social tension. That's the point which I want to make. You see here. And there were exceptions also. The exceptions in the form that this was almost 70 centimeters ahead, but this wall was not demolished. So this is also an important issue. And there were redevelopment, it took place. That is another important issue which I wanted to highlight. These are all pictures of that. But another important dimension, I would say, that what was the result? I said that it was quite successful. The demolitions were successful, the improvements were successful, the smart city in the context of road expansion, road restoration was successful, footpath was erected, quite good initiative. But what is the result? Again, the center point. It is again the picture of congestion. You see here. आप अगर अलीगढ़ से आ रहे होंगे तो आपको ये अंदाजा होगा कि ये सेंटर पॉइंट पे आज की परिस्थिति फिर वापस वही हो गई, जिसमें कि जो फुटपाथ था उसके ऊपर दुकान मालिकों ने अपनी गाड़ियां और अपने सामान को रख दिया है, और जो लोग वहां पे जा रहे हैं उन दुकानों में वो सब अपनी गाड़ियों को रोड के ऊपर पार्क कर रहे हैं। आप देखिए ऑलमोस्ट हाफ लाइन तक जो मिडिल पथ है वो तब तक गाड़ियां खड़ी हुई, तो कंजेशन कंटिन्यू है। आप ये देखिए लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में ये रियलिटी थी और आज की परिस्थिति ये इस तरह की है। आप देखिए ये पूरा इंक्रोच कर लिया, तो फायदा क्या हुआ? इतना डिमोलिशन, इतना सब कुछ, इतना गवर्नमेंट का इन्वेस्टमेंट, वो सब तो बर्बाद हो रहा है। सो माय पॉइंट हियर इज दैट वी रिक्वायर इफेक्टिव प्लानिंग। आप देखें कि मैंने आपसे बताया कि सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट में बहुत इंप्रूवमेंट हुआ है, लेकिन इंसान की मानसिकता वो भी इंपॉर्टेंट है। सोशल एनवायरनमेंट इज ऑल्सो इम्पोर्टेंट, कल्चरल एनवायरनमेंट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। आप देखें वहां पे बने हुए हैं डस्टबिन लेकिन बाहर पड़ा हुआ है। उसकी दो वजह है, एक तो ये कि वो डस्टबिन छोटे हैं, उससे कहीं ज्यादा कचरा निकल रहा है, वेस्ट निकलता है, एक तो वो इशू है। और दूसरा ये कि अगर आप देखिए, मालूम नहीं जो लोग अलीगढ़ में रहते हैं वो आप जानते होंगे कि कुछ इलाकों में 11 बजे दिन में कचरे का कलेक्शन हो रहा है। उस वक्त ट्रैफिक बहुत रहता है, आधा कचरा रोड पे गिर जा रहा है, वो वापस फैल जा रहा है। और जो कचरे का जो कलेक्शन है वो 11 बजे के बाद वापस जो डल रहा है वो पूरे दिन भर पड़ा हुआ है। तो ये इस तरह की परिस्थिति अभी भी है वहां पे। तो मेरा ये मानना है, मैं यहाँ पे अब अपनी बात को खत्म करूंगा और आपसे ये कहूंगा कि जब हम एनवायरनमेंट की बात करते हैं, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट एनवायरनमेंट, वी नीड टू लुक इनटू हाउ दिस एनवायरनमेंट इज इवॉल्विंग। तो मैंने 2-3 बातें की, मैं उसको समराइज करूं तो मैं आपसे कहूंगा, एक तो जनसंख्या वृद्धि एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पहलू। जनसंख्या वृद्धि का सीधा ताल्लुक, उसका सीधा जो असर है वो इंसान की एक्टिविटी से, वो किस तरह से एक्टिविटी कर रहा है। उसमें रूरल और अर्बन सेटलमेंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होगा। मेरा ये मानना है कि रूरल सेटलमेंट में एनवायरनमेंट का कम नुकसान हो रहा है, अर्बन में ज्यादा हो रहा है। और हम ये देख रहे हैं कि अर्बन पॉपुलेशन जो है दुनिया में भी, हिंदुस्तान में भी और हर जगह बढ़ रहा है। तो ये एक और इम्पोर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है। तीसरा एस्पेक्ट मैंने प्लानिंग का लाया था। हमारे यहाँ जो अर्बन डेवलपमेंट और अर्बन पॉपुलेशन में जो इंक्रीज हो रहा है, ये प्लान्ड इंक्रीज नहीं हो रहा है, ये ऑर्गेनिक इंक्रीज है, जिसमें कि लोगों को कोई काम नहीं है, कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं मिल रही है, तो वो शहर की तरफ माइग्रेट कर रहे हैं और वहां पे जनसंख्या की वृद्धि हो, और वो स्ट्रेस कर रहे हैं। आप इसको इस बात से समझिए कि वो जो भी सुविधाएं हैं अर्बन रेजिडेंट्स के लिए, उन सुविधाओं में दबाव पड़ रहा है क्योंकि पॉपुलेशन, माइग्रेटेड पॉपुलेशन बढ़ रही है। और ये माइग्रेशन मेल्स स्पेसिफिक है, ये भी एक इंपॉर्टेंट पहलू है। ये पूरा परिवार नहीं हो रहा है, सिर्फ मेल स्पेसिफिक है। तो उसके अपने सोशल चैलेंजेस हैं। ये जो अपराध जो अर्बन एरियाज में बढ़ रहे हैं, उसकी एक वजह ये भी है। तो मैं आपको सिर्फ इश्यूज के ऊपर हाईलाइट करने की कोशिश की है मैंने अपने अपने लेक्चर में, अपने टॉक में आपको ये मैं बताने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं कि एनवायरनमेंट जो है वो इन टोटलिटी हमें देखना है। You cannot pinpoint, as I have seen, as I have tried to give idea about you, that it cannot be understood in isolation when we only think about physical environment or social environment or cultural or economic environment. We have to look into this environment collectively, where each component and element of these environment need to bring into the discussion and into our purview. Then only we can understand that why and how we are observing degradation on environment. Because no single factor is responsible for the transformation and degradation of environment. It is the combination of all. So that's what was the objective of my talk, and I think now I'll stop, and I would request you and ask you that if you have any observation or question, I would be very happy to answer. Thanks a lot for patient here.
सर नमस्कार,
थैंक यू सर।
ज्ञानेंद्र सिंह बात कर रहा हूँ।
जी
सर, प्रेजेंटेशन में मैंने देखा कि मोस्टली जो वर्क है वो आपका अपना वर्क है, नॉवेल है और काफ़ी इनकरेजिंग और इंस्पायरिंग है ये। अब मैं प्रश्नों की तरफ आता हूँ।
जी जी
सर, क्या सेंसस में अर्बन एरिया का क्राइटेरिया चेंज कर दिया जाना चाहिए, पहला। दूसरा
जी
दूसरा जो स्पेकुलेटिव लैंड होल्डिंग है उसकी क्या वजह है? क्या लैंड से जो हमें फायदा होता है वो कम हो गया है या लोग आलसी हो गए हैं? सर,
जी।
अगला प्रश्न ये है कि
अब एक एक करके पूछिएगा तो ताकि मैं
जी
इनका जवाब दे दूं, फिर उसके बाद
जी
आप दीजिएगा। दो क्वेश्चन आपने किया। मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूं कि सेंसस की डेफिनेशन को चेंज कर दीजिए। मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि देखिए, ये सेंसस की डेफिनेशन से हमें ये लगता है कि हमारे यहाँ अर्बन पॉपुलेशन कम है। मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाह रहा हूं कि अर्बन पॉपुलेशन हमारे यहाँ ज्यादा है, इतनी नहीं, इतनी कम नहीं है। उसकी वजह यह है कि देखिए, आप सब जानते हैं कि जो जो पॉलिसीज बनती हैं, प्लानिंग जो होती है, या इन्वेस्टमेंट जो होता है, या अलोकेशन रिसोर्सेज का होता है, बजट में जो अलोकेशन होता है, वो सब इन इन बिंदुओं पे होता है। तो मैं उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कह रहा हूं, मैं डेफिनेशन चेंज की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं। ये हमें समझना होगा। ऐसा नहीं है कि प्लानर्स नहीं जानते हैं, इसीलिए तो आप देखेंगे कि अर्बन डेवलपमेंट पे ज्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट होता है। उसकी वजह यही है कि अर्बन पॉपुलेशन बहुत बढ़ रही है। पहला क्वेश्चन का जवाब मेरा ये है। दूसरा, स्पेकुलेटिव लैंड होल्डिंग जो है, ये देखिए, ये गवर्नमेंट की इशू नहीं है, ये इंसानी बिहेवियर है। मैंने आपसे कहा कि ये ग्रीड है, ये इंसान का लालच है। आपने भी इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रखा होगा, आपने भी जमीन खरीद रखी होगी, आपको अभी जरूरत भले ही ना हो, आप अभी भले ही मकान ना बना रहे हो, आप अभी दुकान ना बना रहे हो, लेकिन आपने पेरिफेरल एरिया में, हो सकता है, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूं आपने किया ही होगा, लेकिन बहुत सारे लोग इस तरह का इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं, करते हैं। ये स्पेकुलेटिव लैंड होल्डिंग। इसको मैं रिलेट किससे कर रहा हूं? मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि हर रिसोर्स, मैं लैंड को एक रिसोर्स मान रहा हूं, संसाधन मान रहा हूं। हर रिसोर्स का की एक वैल्यू होती है, उसकी एक उपयोग होता है, और उसकी एक उत्पादकता होती है। तो क्या स्पेकुलेटिव लैंड होल्डिंग की कोई उत्पादकता हो रही है? अभी अभी तो नहीं हो रही है। क्या उसकी कोई वैल्यू इंक्रीज हो रही है? तो ये जो चीज है, उससे हमारा रिसोर्स रिसोर्स हम तब कहेंगे जब उसका उपयोग होगा हमारे बेनिफिट के लिए, लेकिन इस वक्त उसका उपयोग नहीं हो रहा है। तो ये किसी तरह आप, और मैंने आपको प्लानिंग भी बताया कि गवर्नमेंट भी ये जान रही है, वो प्रोटेक्ट करना चाह रही है एग्रीकल्चरल एक्टिविटी को, लेकिन कर नहीं पा रही है, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ जो, फिर मैं कहूंगा, सोशल, कल्चरल, इकोनॉमिक, पॉलिटिकल एनवायरनमेंट जो है, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाएंगे। तो आप इसको इसको वो टोटलिटी में समझिए। मैंने तो सिर्फ आपको ये इशू को हाईलाइट किया है। अब आप समझिए कि इसको ये कैसे हो सकता है, या कैसे हम लोग अपने समाज में और अपने क्रियाकलाप में परिवर्तन लाएं कि इसमें कुछ अच्छा हो जाए। देखिए, एनवायरनमेंट के बारे में बोलना बहुत आसान है, जैसे मैंने बोल दिया है, लेकिन इसको प्रभावी रूप से क्रियान्वित करना या उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना बहुत मुश्किल है।
और सर वैसे भी जो
सही बात है
इनिशिएटिव तो
सर।
सर
जी
हमें खुद से लेना
सर
पड़ेगा।
सर
और कोई क्वेश्चन था? जी बताइए।
हाँ, हेलो सर, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था। सर, आपने ये कहा कि अर्बनाइजेशन बढ़ रहा है क्योंकि लोग माइग्रेट करके आ रहे हैं शहर की तरफ। सर, आजादी के 70 साल में हम अपने लोगों को अच्छी एजुकेशन नहीं दे पाए, उनको काम नहीं दे पाए हैं, हॉस्पिटल नहीं दे पाए हैं। तो ऐसी स्थिति में हम कैसे उम्मीद करें कि अर्बनाइजेशन नहीं होगा?
देखिए, इसका दो पहलू हो सकता है मेरे हिसाब से। आप कह रहे हैं कि नहीं दे पाए, मैं कह रहा हूं कि बहुत लोगों को हम दे पाए। आप इसको इस तरह से भी देख सकते हैं कि ऐसा नहीं है। देखिए, हर चीज नेगेटिव नहीं हो सकती। हमारे देश ने बहुत प्रगति की है, इसमें कोई संदेह होने की जरूरत ही नहीं है, संदेह है ही नहीं। लेकिन पॉपुलेशन ज्यादा है, समझ रहे हैं आपकी? नहीं, सब अभी नहीं आए इस दायरे में, लेकिन प्रगति हुई है, चाहे वो ग्रामीण इलाके हों या नगरीय क्षेत्र हों, सब जगह प्रगति हुई है। लेकिन अभी और प्रगति की जरूरत है। और यहां पे मैं दो इंपॉर्टेंट इश्यूज को हाईलाइट करना चाहूंगा। एक है टेक्नोलॉजी। ये टेक्नोलॉजी को का एक्सेस जो है वो ज्यादा लोगों के पास है, अभी वो कुछ लोगों के पास। और दूसरा, रिसोर्स अलोकेशन, संसाधनों का जो बंटवारा है या उसको जो उपयोग करने की जो क्षमता है उस, या एक्सेस है, एक्सेस का मैं वर्ड हिंदी में लूं, पहुंच जो है लोगों की, वो अगर बराबर आ जाए, मतलब मैं ये कहना चाह रहा हूं कि अगर समाज में समरूपता ज्यादा आ जाए। अब ये स्टैटिस्टिक्स आपने जो बात की उसको मैं भी अगर कहूं तो हम सब जानते हैं कि कुछ स्टैटिस्टिक्स इस तरह के आए हैं कि 99% जो हिंदुस्तान की संपत्ति है वो करीब 1 से 2% पॉपुलेशन में है। तो ये जो इशू है इसको अगर हम थोड़ा सा बेहतर कर पाए तो बेहतर हो पाएगा। देखिए, देयर इज नो डाउट दैट द गवर्नमेंट हैज प्लान्ड for the last 75 years. The plannings have been very successful despite of all the shortcomings, despite of all the drawbacks. I would say that we have achieved good level of development comparable to many of the developed countries in many sectors, but there is still scope of improvement. जो बात मैं कह रहा हूं कि if we have uniformity of resources, वो जब तक नहीं आएगी ज्यादातर लोग खुशहाल नहीं हो पाए। अभी भी खुशहाली आई है लेकिन अभी और गुंजाइश है, ये मैं कह सकता हूं। लेकिन मैं इस बात पे आपसे सहमत नहीं हूं कि हमने तरक्की नहीं की, हमने तरक्की की है लेकिन अभी और गुंजाइश है, ये बस मैं
सर मैं ये मेरा सबमिशन ये था सर संतोष जी प्लीज
सर मैं इसमें अपनी बात ऐड करना चाहूंगा।
संतोष जी मेरा एक क्वेश्चन और है,
एक करके बोलिए दोनों बार।
संतोष कुमार, आई बिलोंग टू द वाराणसी।
वापस से बोलिए भाई साहब, नहीं समझ में आया। संतोष कुमार,
नमस्कार सर, मैं डॉक्टर संतोष कुमार, आई बिलोंग टू द वाराणसी। और अभी स्मार्ट सिटी पर सर बात किया
जी।
स्मार्ट सिटी 100 सिटी में 56 रैंक पर वाराणसी का प्लेस है। रैंक में मतलब 56वें प्लेस पर उसको स्थान मिला स्मार्ट सिटी बनाने का। एंड माई वर्किंग एरिया इज हाथरस विच इज नियर टू द अलीगढ़, बिकॉज आई एम द फैकल्टी ऑफ सेठ पीसी बागला पीजी कॉलेज हाथरस। तो आई हैव विजिटेड द अलीगढ़ एरिया आल्सो सर। तो दोनों स्मार्ट सिटी हैं, बट जहां तक मैं कंपेयर करता हूं कि वाराणसी में ड्रास्टिक चेंजेस हुए हैं स्मार्ट सिटी बनने के बाद। वहीं अलीगढ़ में आपने सर रियल पिक्चर पेश किया, स्मार्ट सिटी में है लेकिन वहाँ जो पीपुल ज्यादा स्मार्ट, वाराणसी के पीपुल भी नहीं स्मार्ट है, बट अलीगढ़ में मैंने देखा कि इंक्रोचमेंट इज देयर, लॉट्स ऑफ द इंक्रोचमेंट इज देयर। तो जहां तक मैं कंपेयर करता हूं कि पहले लोगों को स्मार्ट होने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि अगर लोग ज्यादा स्मार्ट होंगे तभी अपने रिसोर्सेज को प्रॉपर यूटिलाइजेशन कर पाएंगे। और डॉक्टर संतोष कुमार सिंह जी की एक बात का मैं थोड़ा सा इसमें रिप्लाई देना चाहूंगा सर, आपने बहुत अच्छा कहा, उसमें एक बात मैं ऐड करना चाहूंगा। और हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने भी कहा है कि व्हाई ओनली वी आर थिंकिंग फॉर द स्मार्ट सिटी, व्हाई नॉट द स्मार्ट विलेज। उन्होंने कोविड के दौरान कहा कि जहां रोग वहीं उपचार। अगर हमारे पास जो प्राथमिक स्वास्थ्य सेवाएं हैं, अगर कोई बीमार होता तो जहां समस्या है उसको अपडेट किया जाए, क्यों न उसको स्ट्रेंथन किया जाए। गाँव में भी क्यों ना हम इंफ्रा बढ़ाएं, गाँव को इंफ्रा रहने दे, मतलब
संतोष कुमार जी मैं आपको यहाँ पे काट रहा हूँ और आपके जवाबी में बल्कि आपके सवाली में वो जवाब था। देखिए ये समाज को तो बदलना ही है, लेकिन जो रेगुलेटरी एजेंसीज हैं उनको भी प्रभावी रूप से काम करना है। आपने एग्जाम्पल दिया बनारस का, वहां पे रेगुलेटरी एजेंसी प्रभावी रूप से काम की है, बेहतर काम की है, इसलिए वहां रिजल्ट दिख रहा है। हमारे यहाँ सारा इन्वेस्टमेंट हुआ और प्रभावी ढंग से उसको इंप्लीमेंट नहीं किया, इसलिए वापस इरेगुलरिटीज आ गई। तो ये दोनों तरफ है, समझ रहे हैं आप जानते हैं इस बात को, इसमें कोई भी ऐसा नहीं होगा। हम आप सब एक ही प्रोफेशन में हैं, टीचर हैं, तो हम सब जानते हैं कि असली मुद्दा क्या है। असली मुद्दा ये है कि अगर हमें मौका मिल जाए, मुझे मिल जाए, तो मैं अपने हिसाब से उसको बदल देता हूं। वो जो भी प्लानिंग चल रही है या जो भी पॉलिसीज चल रही हैं उसको अपने मुताबिक चाहता हूं। और बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल आपने दिया है कि बनारस में इंप्रूवमेंट जो दिख रहा है इसलिए क्योंकि वो प्रभावी ढंग से इंप्लीमेंट हुआ और उसको मेंटेन किया जा रहा है। हमारे यहाँ इंप्लीमेंट हुआ, उसको मेंटेन नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो इसलिए ये स्थिति है।
सर मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था कि हम सर ये कहें कि हमारे यहाँ पर जनसंख्या ज्यादा है, या हम ये कहें कि हम प्रॉपर रूप से ह्यूमन रिसोर्स का मैनेजमेंट नहीं कर पाए।
बिल्कुल यही वजह है। जनसंख्या ज्यादा नहीं हो सकती, क्यों? क्योंकि ये तो रिसोर्स है, संसाधन है। आप देखिए ऑस्ट्रेलिया में तो पॉपुलेशन ही नहीं है, उनको रिसोर्स का वो इस समस्या से ग्रसित है कि उनको लोग चाहिए अपने यहाँ जिंदगी चलाने के लिए, उनके देश को चलाने के लिए वहां पे पॉपुलेशन वो इनवाइट कर रहे हैं। आपको एक और अच्छा एग्जांपल दूं बहुत जल्दी से, आप कनाडा को देखिए। कनाडा 50 साल पहले उसको पॉपुलेशन की जरूरत थी और आज कनाडा पॉपुलेशन को नहीं इनवाइट कर रहा है। क्यों? क्योंकि जो पॉपुलेशन पहुंच गई उससे उन्होंने अपने जरूरत के मुताबिक तरक्की कर ली और तरक्की वो कर रहा है, अब उसको और पॉपुलेशन नहीं चाहिए। तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया भी 10 साल 15 साल बाद ऐसा ही होगा कि वो कहेगा कि मुझे अब ह्यूमन रिसोर्स नहीं चाहिए। तो हम तो बहुत लकी हैं, हम तो बहुत सौभाग्यशाली हैं कि हमारे यहाँ पॉपुलेशन है, इसका बेहतर इस्तेमाल। देखिए जनसंख्या ज्यादा नहीं है, अगर डेंसिटी ऑफ पॉपुलेशन की बात करें तो कई यूरोपियन कंट्री में हमसे ज्यादा डेंसिटी ऑफ पॉपुलेशन है। तो लैंड मैन रेशियो जो मैं आपको कह रहा हूं वो ऐसा भी नहीं है कि हमारे यहाँ कोई मुश्किल हालात है। सिर्फ और सिर्फ बेहतर प्लानिंग और एग्जीक्यूशन की जरूरत है मेरे हिसाब से। आपकी अपनी राय बस आप मुझे दीजिए।
बिल्कुल सही बात है सर।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर।
थैंक्स, थैंक यू सो मच।
बढ़िया।
बहुत
Thank you,
धन्यवाद। डॉक्टर देवकीनंदन जोशी बोल रहा हूँ सर।
क्वेश्चन